Chuka. Who is she? Meso asked, holding up her phone. Chuka froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. Ah, so you found out. Took you long enough. Meso's eyes filled with tears. How could you do this to me after everything I've been through? I thought you cared about me. Chuka leaned against the door frame with a cruel smile. Cared about you, Meso? Please, you were a distraction. Did you really think I'd settle down with you? The sun was just starting to shine through the window as Meso hurriedly prepared Laura for school. Mommy, will you come to pick me up today? Laura asked with hopeful eyes. Meso avoided her gaze, fixing the buttons on Laura's uniform. We'll see, my dear. Just be a good girl. Okay? After dropping Laura at school, Meso returned home and found Mike sitting in the living room, flipping through the TV channels with no real interest. He looked up at her and noticed the envelope in her hand. What's that? Mike asked, his voice curious but cautious. Meso walked up to him and placed the envelope on his lap. Take this, she said, her tone cold and distant. Mike looked at her, confused. What is this, Meso? Open it, she replied. Mike slowly opened the envelope and froze. His hands trembled as he pulled out the divorce papers. He stared at the documents, his world crumbling before him. So, you really meant what you said? He asked, his voice heavy with pain. Yes, Mike. I meant every word, Meso replied, her arms crossed. Look at me. Put yourself in my shoes. Would you want to be with someone like you? Mike's lips quivered as he tried to respond, but no words came out. I have to do literally everything for you, Mike. I bathe you and push you around. How do you expect me to keep living like this? This isn't the life I signed up for, she said, her voice heavy with frustration. Mike's eyes filled with tears. But the doctor said I'll walk again soon. Meso, please don't do this to us. Don't do this to our family. The doctor was just trying to make you feel better. Let's be real, Mike. You're not going to walk again, she said bluntly. Mike looked at her, his heart breaking into pieces. Have you forgotten how I stood by you when things were tough? When no one else believed in you, I was there. Have you forgotten all we've been through together? Don't try to guilt-trip me, Meso snapped. I'm too young to be going through this. I have my whole life ahead of me, Mike. I can't keep sacrificing myself for you. Meso, I still love you. Please don't leave, Mike begged, tears streaming down his face. I don't love you anymore, Mike, Meso said coldly. Please, just sign the papers so I can leave. She turned and walked into the bedroom, leaving Mike sitting there in silence. He stared at the divorce papers, his mind flooded with memories of happier times. Their wedding day, Laura's first steps, the laughter they used to share. Tears rolled down his face as he whispered to himself, how did it come to this? Later that evening, Meso arrived at Chuka's apartment with her suitcase. She hesitated at the door before knocking softly. Chuka opened the door and immediately noticed her downcast expression. He pulled her into a hug. Has he signed the papers? He asked gently. Meso nodded silently, her eyes welling up with tears. Don't worry, Chuka said, stroking her hair. You're safe now. I'll protect you. Meso managed a weak smile. I hope I made the right decision, Chuka. I hope this is the beginning of something better. Chuka stepped aside to let her in. You deserve happiness, Meso, and I'll make sure you have it. As she walked into the apartment, her mind was still filled with guilt and doubt. Chuka poured her a drink and tried to lighten the mood, but Meso couldn't shake off the heaviness in her heart. I'm sure about this, Meso, Chuka said, sitting beside her on the couch. You don't have to look back. Just focus on what's ahead. Meso nodded but didn't respond. Deep down, she wondered if she had truly left her past behind, or if it would come back to haunt her. Chuka smiled reassuringly. Come on. Let's toast to new beginnings. As they clinked glasses, Meso forced a smile, hoping that Chuka's words would eventually become her reality. But in the back of her mind, a small voice whispered, what if this isn't the end? In Mike's apartment, the rooms were quiet, but Laura's small sobs echoed in her room. She sat on her bed, holding her favorite teddy bear tightly. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she looked at the family photo on her bedside table. "Why, Mommy? Why did you leave us?" Laura whispered, her voice breaking. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, but the tears kept coming. She hugged the teddy bear closer, remembering the times her mom used to sing her lullabies and braid her hair. "You used to tell me that family stays together no matter what. You lied, Mommy. You lied," she cried. Laura climbed off the bed and knelt down, her tiny hands pressed together in prayer. "God, please, please heal my daddy. I don't want to see him sad anymore. Make him strong again. Please, God, help us." Her voice cracked as she continued, "I'm just a little girl. I don't know what else to do, but I know you can do big things. Please, God, heal my daddy." After her prayer, Laura stayed on the floor, her face buried in her hands. She felt a little lighter, but the pain of her mother's absence still lingered in her heart. The morning sun was warm, and Mike decided he needed to get out of the house. He wheeled himself onto the street, determined to buy a few things from the store. As he reached the busy road, he carefully looked around before moving forward in his wheelchair. Suddenly, a loud honk pierced the air, and a sleek black luxury car screeched to a halt just inches from him. The driver, a young woman with long hair and wide, panicked eyes, jumped out of the car. "Oh my goodness, sir, are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mike raised a hand, trying to calm her. "I'm fine. No harm done," he said, though his heart was pounding. "You're sure?" she pressed, looking him over for any signs of injury. "I didn't see you. I'm so sorry." Mike nodded. "It's all right, really. I'm okay." The woman exhaled deeply, her hands still shaking. "Please, let me help you. Where are you headed?" "I just need a few things from the store," Mike replied. "I'll take you there and back," she offered, already reaching for his wheelchair. Mike hesitated. "That's not necessary. I can manage." She smiled kindly. "Please, let me make it up to you. It's the least I can do." Reluctantly, Mike agreed, and she helped him into the passenger seat of her car. As they drove to the store, she introduced herself. "My name is Susan, by the way." "Mike," he replied simply. They had a simple conversation, introducing themselves to each other. After picking up his toiletries, Susan drove him back home. When they arrived, she helped him out of the car and to his door. "Thank you, Susan. You didn't have to do all this?" Mike said as he unlocked the door. Susan smiled warmly. "I wanted to. And Mike, please be careful out there. The roads can be so dangerous." Mike let out a low laugh. "There's really not much to be careful about. Life has already done its worst to me." Susan's smile faded. "Don't say that. You're still here, and that means there's hope. Plus, you have your daughter to think about. She needs you to stay strong." Mike looked away, his eyes clouded with sadness. "Thank you, Susan. Your kindness means more than you know." Before she left, Susan placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Take care of yourself, Mike, and if you ever need anything, just call." As Susan drove away, Mike sat in his wheelchair, staring after her. For the first time in a long while, he felt a small glimmer of something he thought he'd lost: hope. A few days later, Mike sat by the window, staring blankly outside. Susan was busy in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepared tea. When she returned to the living room, she noticed the sadness in his eyes. "You look far away, Mike," she said, handing him a cup of tea. Mike sighed deeply. "Susan, life has lost its taste for me. Everything feels so empty. My wife. She left because I'm no longer the man I used to be." Susan sat down across from him, her face full of concern. "Mike, you're still here. That's what matters. Life may not be easy right now, but it's not over. You have Laura. She needs you." Mike shook his head, his voice trembling. "I don't even know how to be a father to her in this state. How do I show her I'm strong when I don't even feel like living?" Susan leaned closer, her voice gentle but firm. "Mike, strength isn't just about standing on 2 feet. It's about showing up even when it's hard. You've already done that by holding on. Don't let this defeat you." Her words hung in the air, sinking deep into his heart. Susan continued, "Let's take it one step at a time. I'll help you. You're not alone, Mike." Mike looked at her, his eyes filled with tears. "Why are you being so kind to me?" Susan smiled softly. "Because I believe in second chances, and I can see you're a good man who just needs a little support." She stood up and started tidying up the living room. "I'll come by tomorrow. Let's start working on things together. Okay?" Mike nodded slowly. For the first time in weeks, he felt a small glimmer of hope. Jane was lying on the couch at her apartment, scrolling through Instagram, and Favor was painting her nails on the dining table. "Ah!" Jane suddenly exclaimed, sitting up straight. "What is it?" Favor asked, looking up. Jane turned her phone to show Favor a picture. It was a photo of Chuka and Meso at the beach. Chuka had his arm around Meso, and they were both laughing, looking carefree. Favor's eyes widened. "Wait, is this not the same Meso? The one that just left her husband?" "Yes," Jane replied, her voice dripping with intrigue. Favor's face twisted into a sarcastic smile, putting her nail polish down. "Are you sure Chuka is not falling in love with this girl? I mean, look at them. He's treating her like a queen." Jane laughed loudly. "Chuka fall in love? My dear, you and I know him too well. That guy doesn't even believe in love." "Still," Favor said, pointing at the picture. "The way he's holding her and smiling. It's like he's serious this time." "Don't be fooled," Jane replied. "Chuka is just enjoying the moment. Give him a few months. He'll get bored and dump her like he does with every other girl." Favor raised an eyebrow. "And what happens when she realizes he's just playing with her?" Her eyes narrowed slightly as she scrolled to the comments under the picture. "That's her problem. She left her husband, didn't she? Let her deal with the consequences." Favor leaned back, shaking her head. "Drama is coming. I can feel it. And I'm here for it," Jane said with a faint, playful smile as she liked the photo and closed the app. Back at Mike's apartment, Mike sat in the wheelchair, sweat dripping from his face. Susan stood beside him, holding his hand firmly. "Mike, you've been undergoing physiotherapy for a while now, and today's the day. Just one step," Susan said, her voice full of encouragement. Mike looked down at his legs, fear clouding his face. "What if I fall? I don't want Laura to see me like that." "You won't fall. I'm here with you," Susan said with a reassuring smile. Mike took a deep breath and tightened his grip on Susan's hand. With her support, he slowly pushed himself up. His legs trembled, but he stayed upright. "That's it, Mike. You're doing it," Susan said excitedly. With Susan's arm steadying him, Mike managed to take a shaky step forward, then another. "I'm walking," Mike whispered, disbelief and joy mixing in his voice. "Yes, you are," Susan said, her voice almost breaking with emotion. Mike managed a few more steps, before sitting back down on the couch, breathing heavily. Susan clapped her hands and picked up her phone. "I have to tell Sam. He is going to lose his mind." She dialed Sam's number, walking back and forth in the room.
"Hello, Sam?"
Guess what? Mike just took his first steps. From the other end of the line, Sam's voice boomed with excitement. "What? Praise God. I knew this day would come." Susan laughed. "You need to come and see him yourself." "I'm on my way right now," Sam said, hanging up. Mike looked at Susan with a grateful smile. "I couldn't have done this without you." Susan sat beside him, holding his hand. "You're stronger than you think, Mike. This is just the beginning." At Chuka's apartment, Meso stood in the kitchen stirring a pot of stew. Lately, Chuka had been acting strange, coming home late and avoiding her questions. Her phone buzzed on the counter, and she picked it up to see a message from an unknown number. "You should know the truth about Chuka. He's been seeing someone else." Meso's heart sank. She read the message again, her hands trembling. Moments later, Chuka walked in, whistling as he dropped his keys on the table. "Chuka, who is she?" Meso asked, holding up her phone. Chuka froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. "Ah, so you found out. Took you long enough. Messo's eyes filled with tears. How could you do this to me after everything I've been through? I thought you cared about me. Chuka leaned against the door frame with a cruel smile. Cared about you, Meso? Please, you were a distraction. Did you really think I'd settle down with you? Messo's voice cracked. I left my family for you. And that's on you, he replied coldly. I didn't ask you to leave your husband. That was your choice. Messo's hands clenched into fists. You're a monster. Chuka gave a nonchalant shrug, grabbing his wallet and heading for the door. Believe what you want. I'm done here. As the door slammed shut behind him, Meso collapsed onto the floor, tears streaming down her face. The weight of her decisions crushed her, and she realized too late that she had made a terrible mistake. Laura sat on the couch, bent over and staring at the floor. Her untouched breakfast sat cold on the table. Susan walked over with a look of concern on her face. Laura, baby, why didn't you eat your food? Susan asked gently, sitting beside her. Laura looked up, her eyes welled up with sadness. Auntie Susan, I don't want to get married when I grow up. Susan's eyebrows lifted in shock. What? Why would you say that? Married people are not happy, Laura muttered under her breath. I hate my mom. I don't want to be like her when I grow up. Susan's heart sank. She took Laura's small hands in hers. Laura, don't ever say you hate your mother. Laura looked confused. But she left us, Auntie Susan. She left Daddy and me. She made Daddy sad. Susan sighed, pulling Laura closer. Listen to me, sweetheart. Your mom might have made some bad choices, but that doesn't make her a bad person. Life is all about choices, and sometimes people make mistakes. Laura's eyes welled up with tears as she struggled to compose herself. But she hurt us. Why did she make that choice? Sometimes people think they're doing what's best, but they don't realize the harm they're causing, Susan explained softly. Marriage can be beautiful, Laura. It's about love, patience, and forgiveness. Your mommy's mistakes are lessons for us. They teach us to be better. Are you sure, Auntie Susan? Laura asked, her voice trembling. Susan smiled warmly. I'm sure. And one day when you're older, you'll understand. But for now, eat your food and trust that everything will get better. Laura nodded slowly and leaned into Susan's embrace. Thank you, Auntie Susan. Months later, Mike stood in his living room, holding his phone with trembling hands. He stared at the email on the screen, a smile slowly spreading across his face. Picking up the phone, he quickly dialed Sam's number. Sam, you won't believe this, Mike shouted, his voice trembling with excitement. What happened, Mike? Tell me.
Sam replied eagerly.
My first contract. It's worth millions, Sam.
Million.
Can you believe it? Mike said, his voice filled with joy.
Sam laughed loudly.
I told you, Mike. I told you that God isn't finished with you yet. Mike paced the room, his heart racing. This changes everything, Sam. Everything. I can finally give Laura the life she deserves. That's the spirit, Mike. Tonight, we're celebrating. I'm coming to pick you up, Sam said firmly. Later that evening, Mike, Sam, and Susan sat in a cozy lounge. Laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. To new beginnings, Sam toasted, raising his glass. To second chances, Susan added, her eyes sparkling. Mike raised his glass, his heart full of gratitude. To everyone who stood by me when I was at my lowest. I'll never forget it. As they laughed and celebrated, Mike couldn't help but feel a deep sense of hope for the future. For the first time in a long while, he believed that everything was going to be all right. The warm glow of the lounge lights reflected in their glasses as laughter echoed between Mike, Susan, and Sam. They were in the middle of sharing a funny story when Mike suddenly stood up. The room fell silent as he reached into his pocket. Susan, he began, his voice steady but full of emotion. You came into my life when I had nothing to offer. You believed in me, helped me stand again, both literally and in life. You gave Laura hope, and you gave me a reason to fight. Susan blinked, surprised by the seriousness in his tone. Mike, what are you? Before she could finish, Mike carefully knelt down, He pulled out a small velvet box and opened it to reveal a simple, elegant ring. "Susan," he said, his voice now trembling slightly, "you've been my light in the darkest days. Will you be my wife? Will you help me build a new life? A happy one for Laura and for us?" The entire lounge seemed to hold its breath. Even Sam was speechless, his eyes wide with surprise. Susan stared at the ring, her heart pounding. She admired Mike's courage and loved Laura deeply, but doubt crept into her mind. "Mike," she whispered, "this is a big step. I care about you and Laura, but are you sure we're ready for this? I don't want to make promises I can't keep." Mike's smile began to fade, but he nodded. "I understand, Susan. Take your time. I'll wait for you, no matter how long it takes." Susan's hesitation left Mike vulnerable. His heart was suspended in uncertainty. Will Susan choose love and become part of Mike and Laura's life, or will her doubts hold her back? Could Meso find her way back to the family she abandoned, or will it be too late? And what about Jane and Favor? Will karma finally catch up with them for their role in this tangled web? The story has only just begun. Don't miss what happens next. It's about to get even more dramatic. If you can't wait to find out what happens next, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next chapter. Drop a comment below with your predictions. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the continuation.